Hi, my name is Judy Slover, and I'm going to be your instructor this semester. One of the things that you need to learn how to do is to set up the MLA format, use in-text citations, and use a works cited page. So we're going to work on format and in-text citations today. So let's get started. First thing that you're going to do when you start writing a paper in MLA format is make sure that your font size is correct. MLA wants you to use Times New Roman font size 12. And there are other things that we'll talk about as we go along as well, but that's the very first thing you need to do, is to change your font to Times New Roman size 12. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to set up your paragraph structure. In MLA, your paragraphs look just like they do in a book, with no extra spaces between the paragraphs and an indent. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. You click on the little arrow in the middle of the paragraph section on the Word homepage, and that brings up a new menu. You want to go to first line, and you want to make sure that it's set at 0.5 inches. That's the required indent. The next thing you do is you go down to line spacing and you click on double. That makes everything in your paper double spaced, and that's the way it should be. The next thing that students have a real hard time with is that they skip extra spaces in between the paragraphs. Well, in order to avoid doing that, you click this box here that says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. And then when you get that all set in there, you click OK. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to set up the page numbering and everything. And what you do here is you slide all the way over to the far right side by tabbing over. And then you type in your last name, a space, and then go over here to page number, click on page number, current position, plain number, and that sets it up for you. Now that's set up all the way through your paper. Okay. The next thing is the header. You double click on the regular page to get out of the header area. And your header should be your name, my name, the class. And notice that I've put in a section number here. This should be the section number of your class, not 33333. But, you know, this is what you use to sign up for the class. Okay. And then the due date of the paper is the next thing. Just click enter one time. Now here you're going to do it a little different, because you're going to make sure that this is centered, okay? That's where it would normally go. But here you're going to center it. So click on the justification for center justify. And when you click on this again, it's still going to bring it in the middle, so you've got to go back to left justify. And that's where you start your paper. Very next line. I want to talk about justification for a minute. Make sure that everything except titles are left justified. So you leave this on all the time. Don't use the full justification. That makes it hard to grade. It makes it hard to read. So avoid that if you can. Once you get your paper started, you can go ahead, or I do it with X's usually, you can go ahead and put in a couple of things, highlight, click on normal, update normal to match selection. That will save all the changes that you've made in the paragraph. And when you use this again, it should do it. You've got to check it every time though, because sometimes it reverts. Here is a first page, just like the one I just showed you. Okay. The in-text citations. Anytime that you use any material from anywhere else except your brain, you have to use an in-text citation. If it's somebody else's words that are in quotation marks, you have to use an in-text citation. If it is a paraphrase of someone's words, and a paraphrase is simply putting it in your own words, I'll show you an example in a few minutes. You still have to give them credit. It was their idea, not yours. And summaries. Sometimes you'll summarize a whole article in a couple of sentences. You still have to give that person who wrote that article credit for that. So make sure that you're using these appropriately, otherwise it's plagiarism, and that's a really big deal. And you don't want to get caught plagiarizing. So here are some examples of how to do in-text citations. But before we get started, there's a couple of things I want to talk about quotes. Quotations should never stand on their own. In other words, you shouldn't have a sentence that is just a quotation. It should become part of your sentence. You shouldn't have more than one or two in a paragraph, quotes or paraphrases. Otherwise, all you're doing is summarizing other people's arguments and ideas and not coming up with your own. I want to know what you think, okay? I know what others think. I want to know what you think. So when you're writing your paper, make sure that it's mostly you, and you're adding these things in to back up your material, give examples, maybe even something that's on an opposite side of an argument, so that you can say how your idea is much better. So be careful how you use them. Don't let them stand on their own. And make sure that you give a citation for paraphrases, summaries, and quotes. Now these are all quotes here. And let's look at these in-text examples. In the first one, it's a quote, but it's in the middle of the sentence. Okay, so let's look at how they do this. According to some, dreams express profound aspects of personality. That's Folks 184. Notice that the comma, which would normally come right after personality, comes after the end parentheses. Inside the quote, you don't use punctuation. Inside the last quote, after the last word, you don't use any punctuation there. Trick about this is to end the quote before the punctuation. Okay. And the second one, according to Folk Study, we've used the name in your sentence, so you don't need to use it again at the end. All you need to do is put in the page number. And in the third one, the third Folks' one, is it possible that dreams may express profound aspects of personality? And here, the question mark comes after the end parentheses. So be aware that the punctuation for the sentence, now remember it's for the sentence because the parenthesis stuff is part of the sentence. So the punctuation comes after, okay, after the parentheses. Alright. Now, in the last one, this is a line from a poem that's been quoted. How do I know it's a poem? Oh, there's a backslash in between the two lines. So, when it says, Cullen concludes, of all the things that happened there, that's line 11, and all the things I remember, that's line 12. That's what that 11 and 12 means. If you only have one line, you might put an L period in front of the number just so that people know it's not a page number. That's the end. Okay, this will be available for you. There is a PowerPoint available for you as well on a lot of details about MLA that you probably should take a look at so you get it right. It's all how to use long quotes and all kinds of things like that, which I hope you don't use. But this should help you with those things. The next video that I'm going to make will be about how to set up a works cited page, which is technical and you should never use the setup for this in Word, because it doesn't work right. Okay. Alright, that's all. Thanks.